Alright, so we got a 2001 Cherokee Sport in here with the 406 six-cylinder. And it sounds like it's got a knocking noise. He originally brought it to me because he wants the belt changed and the idler pulley because it's kind of chirping a little bit. The belt's chirping at idle especially. And then it developed another noise recently that sounded more concerning. Almost sounds like a knock. I'm going to go ahead and start it up and let you listen to it. Hopefully the camera can pick it up accurately. I know sometimes these engine noises don't pick up that well on the camera, but I'm going to start it up. We'll see if we can hear it. You kind of hear that, hopefully. Doesn't sound too good. Rev it up a little bit. Anyway, it almost sounds like a rod's knocking. It almost sounds like a rod's knocking. I'm going to go ahead and pull this serpentine belt off. And I think I know what it is already, but we'll check it anyway. Or I'll check it. And so these Cherokees, just go ahead and loosen up your idler pulley. That's right below the power steering pump. Just crack it loose a little bit. Then there's an adjusting bolt up here under the power steering pump. We'll go ahead and loosen that. Just loosen it until your belt comes off. Alright, and I'm going to go ahead and just pull this belt completely out because we're going to change it anyway. And I want to run the engine with the belt off. Now you don't want to do this too long because you'll overheat the engine. The water pump's not turning, your fans and all that stuff. But I want to show you the difference the engine sounds like with this belt off. And anyway, let me start it up real quick here. Now, when you take the belt off, obviously all your front end stuff will be disconnected from it. So the only thing that'll turn on the front is your crankshaft pulley. So if we did have a rod knock or an engine knock, it would still be present with the belt off. Now if it's something on the front of the engine, like a water pump or an alternator making that kind of noise, take the belt off, it'll be gone obviously. I'll go ahead and start it up. There you can hear the engine with nothing turning on the front. Sounds like a really good running 4.0. So it's not an internal engine problem. And next thing you would do on something like this, I'm going to get you a little bit closer in here, is you would just go through by hand and just see if anything's loose. You suspect a water pump. It really sounds like a water pump. I've heard water pump sounds very similar to that. So you would just take the water pump pulley and turn it and try to rock it back and forth. If you had a bad bearing in there, you'd have movement in that water pump. Alternator is another possibility. Your actual tensioner pulley could be a possibility. I don't know about that knocking noise though. That might be the chirp. But anyway, I think it's the power steering pump because you can look here. See how loose that is? That should not be that loose. So we got play, and then also on the power steering, the seal in the front is leaking because it's starting to get wet around here. So I believe that's what the noise is. I did check the pulley here on the fan, all that stuff. Everything else seems good. So we're going to go ahead and replace this power steering pump. You shouldn't be able to rock it that much. That bearing's getting bad in that power steering pump. And he said something about his power steering was acting funny too. So he just sent me a message last night. He dropped it off and said that. So anyway, that's how I diagnose this. Pretty straightforward, pretty easy. Like I said before, don't run your engine too long with the belt off. You'll lose your water pump and your alternator and all that stuff. And you know, if you don't have electric fans, you could overheat. On some of these newer cars, maybe not that, wouldn't be as big of a deal. if they run off, if the water pump runs off something else. But either way, don't run it too long. But that's just a quick way to find out. A lot of people may have said, "Oh, that's a knock," because it definitely sounded like a rod knock almost the way it acted. And it was kind of at idle, and then when you rev it up, it would, or even a main bearing. A lot of times, a rod will get worse when you rev it up, and a main bearing will go away when you rev it up. And it was kind of, it was still there a little bit, but anyway, that's getting off the subject. So I'm gonna go get a power steering pump for this and get back on it. So I'll show you how to take the power steering pump off on this. It's pretty simple. It's up here on top. We're going to put a new tensioner pulley on it and a new belt. The belt's pretty old, and it's been kind of making a squeaking noise. Before that other noise came up, it was kind of making a squeaking noise. So we're going to put a tensioner pulley on it. All the other pulleys feel good on it, so I don't think it's anything anywhere else. So anyway, I'll go get the parts, and then we'll come back and tear this thing apart. Alright, I'm just going to break this loose. I'm not going to take it off because I don't want to make a mess right now. But you got a 16 millimeter high pressure line coming in. So we'll just break that loose. And I got a pan under the Jeep, obviously. You are going to lose some power steering fluid, so put a pan under there. Your return line is just a regular clamp. I'll take that loose last just because I don't want it leaking a bunch of fluid while I'm trying to get the rest of it off. So you have 3 bolts to hold this on. And before I start, you will need a pulley puller. You can rent those at an all parts store or whatever, but you will need a pulley puller for this. The new one does not come with pulleys. At least mine didn't. So you got 3 13 millimeter. I'm just using a deep well. And what you do is getting in between the pulley holes and lining up with the 3 mounting bolts. And we're just going to I'll get that top one on for a second. I take it out all the way. And then get these other 2. That's my phone going off in the background. I mean the dog too, but people get mad at me because I don't answer the phone or I won't answer their text right away. But if I did that, I'm a one-man operation, so if I did that, I would never get any work done. So I have to just ignore it until I'm done. Usually I try to catch up at the end of the day. I'm not saying I never answer it, but if, you know, if I'm here working on a car, I can't stop and answer the phone every 5 seconds. It's kind of funny now because people get really upset when you don't, they can't get a hold of you instantly. Remember back in the day we had regular phones. We just, no one answered, oh well. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this. I only got a little bit of this one left. I'm going to get down to that return hose. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this top hose off now. This is the high pressure hose. We'll do a little bit of leaking, but I got a pan under there. That should catch most of it. And then I just want to move this out of the way so I can get to that bottom return hose. You could probably get to it without it, but it's got to come off anyway, and we're almost got this pump off, so go ahead. See there, we're leaking a little bit. So I'm going to point this down towards that pan. I got over there. Now I got access to this return hose. I'm going to need to get a pair of pliers, so I'm going to come back to that real quick. Alright, so here's your pump here. Here's the bag of the pump, and here's the low pressure line. And it's just got one of those cheesy clamps on it. I just used a pair of curved needle nose to get to it. Just use whatever you got. And put the clamp down. And I'm going to go ahead and get a pry bar and just push down that hose. Shouldn't be too much. It's plastic, so be careful. I guess it don't really matter because you're taking it back, but want to be be careful with the hose too. This one's fighting me a little. It's been on there for 20 years, so it doesn't want to leave its home. I'm trying to get it off without messing up the return hose. So you just kind of go around it. There we go. Just kind of go around it and do what you got to do. So now we got a pretty good leak coming out. So now we'll go ahead and take this top bolt off, and then we should be able to pull this thing off. May have to loosen this big bracket here in the front just to get a little bit of play. I'm going to go ahead and let that leak down in that pan for a while until I try to pull it off. I don't want to make a huge mess, so I'll pick it back up once this thing's done leaking everywhere. Alright, so I let it drain out. I did not have to loosen this big plate here. It slipped right out. Wasn't sure about that. So anyway, once you get 3 bolts out, your 2 hoses off, it slips right out. So we'll go over to the bench and pull that pulley off and then install it on the new pump. Alright, you should be able to get these kits at auto parts store or whatever. This is an old KE kit I bought like 30 years ago off a tool truck. Anyway, you want to set it up to remove the pulley first off the old one. Gotta get in there without getting my fingers. I should have got this started a little bit better. Oop. Yeah, I didn't have it clicked in right. Kind of shenanigans. So you want to get these shells around the pulley itself. That's what attaches it to pull it up. I guess I didn't have mine on there right. Tool, nothing's cooperating. Now this should snap it right off here. There we go. So that's how you get the old one off. You just put the plunger on the end of the shaft, the bolt here. Hook your 2 half shells around the pulley, and then this will lock into it. Put this ring over that locks into it, and then if you haven't done it, your kit will probably come with instructions. So the pulley's off. Usually pretty easy to get the pulley back on. Usually slip on pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and run this bolt out. And then we'll get set up to replace the pulley. So I'm going to move this old one out of the way and kind of clean up the desk here, and then we'll put the new one on, put the pulley on the new pump. Alright, so once you thread your bolt into the pump and then put this bolt onto that bolt, you just run it down until it stops. You don't want to go, once it stops, you know, put a little bit more oomph into it and then be done. Don't just keep pulling on it. It's kind of a slower process than taking it off because you got to do it all by hand basically. But and you use your little bearing on the bottom here to facilitate all this, so the pulley's not turning. So you kind of get the idea of this. Like I said, it's a little bit slower going, but don't beat it on there. I know some people, if you don't have the tool, you might try to beat it on there. I wouldn't recommend that at all. So just get the tool or rent the tool borrow the tool, steal the tool, whatever you got to do, and it'll make your job much easier and quicker. I know some people might be tempted to just take a hammer and beat it on there, but we don't recommend doing that. So anyway, that's the gist of it. I'm going to keep going on this, and then we'll pick it back up. So I'll kind of show you the setup after the fact here. It's on now and tight all the way. I'm just going to take this apart, and I'll kind of show you what it did so you know. Yours should come with instructions. But if they don't, here's how you do it. So you put your little washer and your little bearing. That prevents the big pulley from spinning. And then you put your whatever bolt will fit down in here into there. You thread that into the pulley or into the pump, not the pulley. All right. So you're going to have various bolts in your kit that look like this. You're going to thread the one that fits into your pulley pump into there, and then you're going to, this has a hole in it, and that's what threads into here, and that's what holds onto this. So you'll do that. You'll put your, like I said, you're going to put your bearing and your washer in there, and then you're going to run this through the big nut. And this is what pushes down on it and pushes that in. So you're going to have this sticking up. And I dropped it, of course. So this will be sticking out of your pump. You'll put this over that, screw that in. The bearing and everything will be here. You'll hold this. Or you hold the top and then turn this bottom, and that's what pulls the pulley in. And you can see here this pulley is flush with the pump. And you can see here there's no movement at all, no side-to-side movement or anything at all. It's very tight and there's no movement. So the bearing on the other one was shot, obviously. It does not come with a new dipstick, so keep yours, and then just take out your little plugs they have in here. We should be ready to rock and roll on this. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this mess up, and then we'll meet you back over at the Jeep. Alright, we're back over at the Hoopty here. Now my return line frayed a little bit when I took it off, so I'm hoping I have enough slack. I had to cut a piece of it off to make it nice again. I'm hoping I got enough slack to put it back on without having to go get a new hose. Mainly because I don't want to go get a new hose. It looks like there's plenty of slack, but you never know. And you got to watch that too. When they're old like this, the ends will get frayed, and when you take it off, so you may have to. So all I'm doing right now is just kind of starting these, the 3 mounting bolts. And then I'm not gonna go too much farther until I check to make sure. Yeah, I have enough. I have enough slack, so we're good on that. Thankfully, because I didn't feel like going back and seeing my buddies at O'Reilly's. I see those guys enough. Sure, they're upset because they like to see me, but try to limit my trips there to one a day. I did get stuff delivered too, but so I'm just tightening. I'm just going to go around and tighten all 3 of these now. And like I said, you're just going in between the pulley holes. That's how you're getting access to these bolts. I'm going to go through my ratchet, do one quick double check on it. Yeah, I think those guys at rallies, they like seeing me a lot, but they always get real excited when I come in there. But I'd rather not go back. I do get stuff delivered, but of course they're not a hub, so a lot of times they don't have what I need, and then it's quicker for me just to go to the hub and pick it up than it is to wait for them to go get it and deliver it. So all I'm doing right now is just putting this return hose on. The reason I'm doing this one first, it's easier to get to with the high pressure line out of the way. I'll get my light real quick and I'll come back. Alright, so I got that on. I got the clamp slid up. And now I'm going to put the high pressure one on if I can find it. I don't know what I did with it. Stuff it down by the pan. Now I got stuck. I should have got it out of the way before I put this low pressure return line on, because now it's stuck behind there. We're able to get it. Now these do have an O-ring on them, and mine just fell off. So I'm going to have to go to my O-ring pile. I don't think the pump came with one. It should have. A lot of times they do. Let me check. But well, my O-ring just fell off, so I can't use it anyway. But now's a good time to replace that O-ring on there. Let me see if the new pump. Usually the new pumps come with them. I didn't see it in the bag, but maybe it did. So let me go check that. If not, I got a bunch of O-rings here, and I'll replace it. Alright, so it did come with new O-rings, thankfully. This one requires one. There's two in the bag. I don't know what the other one's for, but this only needs one. When you put these O-rings on, it's not a bad idea to run a little bit of oil around them. I got some on my finger here, and get them lubed up a little bit before you put them in. So we're just going to thread this one down. Get tight. And then we're going to start looking at the belt. I bought a new belt for it. Like I said earlier, we need one. This one's pretty old. And then I also got a new idler pulley for it. I think that one was squeaking a little bit. And when I took it off, it looked pretty beat up and rusty. So there was no movement in it, side-to-side movement or anything, but it definitely sounded like it was squeaking. So I'm going to get all that, and then we'll come back. Before I put that belt on, one thing I like to do is, especially on this style, is kind of fill up the reservoir on it with the power steering fluid. Get it pretty full, and then just go ahead and rotate the pump a little bit. And it did go down a little bit, so I'm just so I don't start it up dry. You know, you don't want to start these pumps up dry. Some pumps now actually come with some fluid in them, but this one didn't. So I just went ahead and filled up the reservoir here. And I'm just going to spin it a little bit so that it's not starting up dry. So anyway, that's just a little thing I do. It's probably not in any book or anything, but I find it helps to prevent the pump from starting up completely dry. So I'll get that pulley and stuff, and then we'll start. Actually, it's right here. Hopefully it's the right one. Actually, it looks like it's the right one. Last time they gave me the wrong one for this Jeep. That's why I was supposed to replace this a while back, and I ended up not replacing it because they gave me the wrong. This is a little bit different setup here. I think this is the problem I had last time. Yeah. See, the problem with this is what they did last time. They gave me this style. This is real deep right here, and when you cannot if I go to start this, it tighten this down, it's going to tighten down on the actual pulley instead of on the bearing here, and then we're going to have all kinds of issues. So I don't know why they can't give me the right one. Alright, well, I'm going to have to go back there and figure this out, so we'll pick it back up once I find all the right parts. Alright, so I got that issue worked out. Evidently the new pulley came with a different spacer, and I was able to use it anyway, so that's good. So all I'm doing now is just tightening the belt. I think that's good for now. We'll test it. Go ahead and tighten your pulley back up. Now I did remove the electric fan out of the way on this. It's only a couple bolts. Hey! It's only a couple bolts and then a connector. So let's go ahead and start this thing up and see what it sounds like. Should be a little quieter now. Hopefully. Might hear a little power steering pump line once it starts to suck that fluid down. Alright. So the knocking's gone, which is good. No squeak. So I'm going to turn the wheel back and forth a little bit and try to get some of that air out of the system on the power steering. So that's pretty much a good fix here. There's no knocking noise. That's all gone. That was the pump. And so far there's no chirping noise. We may have to adjust that belt. What I'll do is I will, it wants me to change the thermostats. I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. And then I'll put the fan back in and I'll just take it for a test drive and work the steering. And there's a little bit of bubbles in there. It's not real bad though. So anyway, we'll take it for a test drive, and if we come back and check the belt, make sure it's tight still. If it's good to go, then we won't worry about it. And this hose goes right by the fan. I don't know. It's a bad spot for that hose. So anyway, that's a power steering pump on a Jeep Grand Cherokee. No, not Grand Cherokee. Jeep Cherokee 4.0. Like I said, it's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. You will need to get the pulley remover and installer, but other than that, it's right on top, real easy to get to. And if your Jeep sounds like it's getting ready to throw a rod, it could just be your power steering pump. Like I said, the only best way of telling that is take the belt off and see if you can rock this. You know, it's the same with all your pulley, your water pump. A lot of times when the water pump goes out, the bearing, you can take the pulley and it'll rock back and forth. There shouldn't be any play in it really at all. So anyway, and then like I said before, don't run your engine too long with the belt off, but that is a way to diagnose the engine. Just make sure it's not a rod. If we had taken that belt off and everything else was disconnected and it was still making that noise, then we would know for sure that's an internal engine problem. And that's really what it sounded like. I've been doing this over 30 years, and that's exactly what it sounded like when it came in. But you know, you got to go through your paces and go through your checklist, your mill checklist, and do what you have to do to verify it before you just decide the engine's bad. So anyway, it's quiet now. It's all good to go. Thanks for watching, and as always, God bless.